Hey, this is Eternal King here, bringing you another LOR video. Wanted to give you another deck tech for an off-meta list that I think is probably underrepresented in Standard right now, and that is Scouts. I feel like Scouts is an excellent choice right now into all of the mid-range beater shells that other people are playing. There's something about this list that feels exceptionally powerful, and it does have a lot to do with the attune. So being able to challenge things, again, we talk about how much I love challengers. So Petrosite Broadwing, Fleet Feather Tracker, that feels great. Shell Shocker plus the 3 of Grumble Slug, that feels very good with the free attune and just coming out on mana faster than your opponent. You're hitting the board fast, but you're also attuning while you're hitting the board and challenging, problematic cards while you're hitting the board. That's a very powerful combination. And then, of course, you have Form Up, Best Combat Trick. Inspiring Light allows you to kind of cash out on going wide, and it allows you to cash out on those attunes. Mariah Warden, obviously nutty card. Petrosite Broadway we talked about from my Illoi video. Misfortune, of course. Vanguard Sergeant as a 3 of, because those 4 Demasias are more beneficial here than most other decks. Island Navigator is your typical scout, and it also doubles as an additional Mariah Warden. 1 Rally, because again, this, sometimes you just rally in the shell and it overperforms as one of. It's just a really nice tech card to have, because sometimes you need to hard rally. Maybe your opponent has a board clear, maybe your opponent is all sort of burst interaction or fast speed interaction, and they vengeance you or whatever, and then you rally off of that, them tapping out, and that wins you the game. So I'm pretty happy to run the 1 rally card just to throw them off. Quinn, pretty obvious inclusion of Quinn. Scrutinizing Sergeant, best new elites card that was printed, allows you to tutor for basically anything that costs 3 or less. So like it can tutor out a Misfortune very, very easily, and that's going to feel pretty good when that happens. So that's a nice little bit of deck reliability in this shell. And of course, Guinevere Elmheart, I don't really have to explain why this is a good card. It's a scout, it buffs your board by 1/1, does everything you want. So very straightforward 3 of list. It's not anything new. Everyone understands what Scouts does. But the value of bringing out these lists that people haven't seen for a while is that they're very poorly teched into them for the most part. So, a lot of what you'll see are these kind of 53% beater shells that I've talked about before. It is the Annie deck that someone grabbed off of Master Runeterra. So very 1-drop heavy. It is the, Zed Gwyn deck, which is very tempo heavy as well, very board spammy. It is there's a Nora deck, like a Nora Overwhelm deck with Darius, that's very 1-drop spammy, and that's the whole deck. So the nice thing about Scouts is that versus something like the Illoi deck, which Illoi is all in on Overwhelm and all in on leveling champions. The case of a Scout deck is that even though it's in the same exact colors, it couldn't be playing more differently. Instead, you never level Misfortune or Quinn. You threaten the level ups. You basically just say, hey, if you don't deal with these cards, they will level up. So you're basically threatening the opponent with that. But you're never really worried about leveling them. What you're doing is you're just spamming the board faster and harder than the opponent, and at a attuned mana cost reduction, which allows you to get those Inspiring Lights, allows you to get those 4 Demasias, and that's the deck. That's the whole deck. And it's exceptionally easy to play. Anyone can pick up this list and just absolutely jam out to Diamond. If you wanted to, you could probably jam out to Masters with Scouts. Scouts is one of those lists that does very well into Masters. Especially right now, with the way that decks are teched. This is going to beat Deathless pretty much 100% of the time. This is going to beat other aggro mid-range shells that are popular right now pretty much 100% of the time. This is also, the only thing that's, again, that it's going to do badly into is maybe something like the Nora. Again, the Nora do-nothing decks. Mogwai just made a similar deck to that, where it runs the 1 of Elder Dragon, but instead of Nora, because he likes to play decks that are a little more engaging, he's running, of course, I call her Songbird, but he's running the the Seraphine, right, instead of the Nora. So rather than just portal, open pass, you're trying to go for a turbo level on the Seraphine, and that's a little more interesting than the Nora version, but probably may or may not be better, but it is more fun to watch. So this will do well into everything except that specific deck, which is literally just P&Z Bandle City. So P&Z Bandle City is the best control deck right now, whether it's the Nora, whether it's the Seraphine. It's very ping heavy, it's very open pass heavy, and that's problematic for any sort of aggro or mid-range deck to deal with. So I don't know how that matchup would play out. I've had trouble with that matchup previously with Illoy, so I assume Scouts is a similar deal. But yeah, you know, again, I can do these deck techs all day for like very competitive off-meta lists that just absolutely blow out like all of this kind of garbage stuff that you see everywhere. This, it'll do well into this. It'll do well into basically most of what's good. We already look at my video for standard meta percentage reviews to see everything that's good, but Scouts will do well into this. Scouts will do well into this. Scouts will do well into this. Scouts will also do well into this, and the Nara deck, the Nara Overwhelm deck that doesn't even really use Nara for Overwhelm. It just plays units and swings, right? Which is what most mid-range aggro beater shells do right now. So the nice thing about Scouts is that it is the OG, you know, mid-range aggro beater shell, and it's actually one of the best to run in standard right now. Nothing complicated, nothing fancy. It's very good at what it does. Even something like just look at the lines of play here. Shell Shocker into Grumble Slug into the form up when the opponent open swings into you, because people always open swing in standard because it's standard. That's what they do. So having Shell Shocker, Grumble Slug, and then potentially pushing Grumble Slug to a 4-5 on the opponent's open swing will kill anything. I don't care if they're running Auction, I don't care what they're running. So like that line of play right there is game winning. A Fleet Feather Tracker into Grumble Slug isn't bad if you can like drag a Nora. Usually there's a pie toss to back her up though, so don't depend on that working. Mirai Warden going wide, Petricite Broadwing, good card. Again, it's just a good deck. It's a very good deck. Bad into portals, bad into ping heavy decks. So basically P&Z Bandle City, which is the only ping heavy deck available in standard currently. So it's bad into that, but every single other deck that your opponent can play, you'll just absolutely destroy them. Yeah, so this is Eternal King signing out, but you know, if you guys are finding that these sort of off-meta deck reviews are helpful, I'm happy to provide them. Don't get salty at me if you lose to them online, because again, I'm literally just making these lists up as I go, and you guys are pulling lists from a meta website, so don't be too angry when you lose to me. Alright, this is Eternal King signing out.